In this episode, North Canyon's IB program, An Hour of AI. From the Heart of Paradise, I'm Matt, and as always, we have our team in the studio helping produce the show. I'm co-hosting alone this time, but we've got an action-packed show of information about a really cool program, actually two really cool programs that are happening here in PV. Starting on December 22nd, schools and district offices will be closed until January 5th. We wish all of our community members a safe, relaxing, and wonderful winter break. The 16th annual PVSchools Community 5K Fun Run and Walk returns Saturday, January 31st at Horizon High School. Registration is now open. Visit pvschools.net for more information and to register.
Now, back to the beat. PV beat, that is.
The first thing that I want to talk about on today's episode is the IB program. Now, this is a program that is really special. It is at Quail Run Elementary School and North Canyon High School. And I'm definitely not the expert in this program, but I did get to sit down with Matt Case, who is a staff member at North Canyon High School. He's definitely much more of an expert in this program than I am. So let's listen from him about what this program means to students and what this opportunity brings and is offering students here in Paradise. Take a listen. It's not just honors and AP courses that are helping students excel here in Paradise. We have another program throughout the district, International Baccalaureate, or IB. Specifically, we're talking about IB at North Canyon. Today we have Mr. Matt Case from North Canyon High School. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Thanks for coming in to talk about this program. It's kind of a unique, interesting experience for students. For those who aren't aware of what IB is, give us an overview.
So the IB is a program that we have at North Canyon that really starts junior year for students. And so it's known as a diploma program because students are working towards getting their IB diploma, which is kind of an additional diploma on top of their high school diploma that they're working towards the 4 years of high school. So as part of the program, students take 6 IB classes and they have to take 6 IB exams. And along with that, they're doing community service. They're working on a large research project. And one of the most unique things that IB offers is a class called Theory of Knowledge. And in the Theory of Knowledge class, we focus on having discussions about how do we know what we know. And so it really promotes that critical thinking and that creative thinking that is a big part of what the future looks like and what businesses and universities are looking for in students.
Yeah, so in PV, we talk a lot about being college and career ready. That's definitely part of that. You talked about there are several classes that students take. What does a class look like? Maybe somebody who's never seen this before. What other kinds of things are they learning? Why is this important to students? What are the benefits?
So I think one of the really nice things is that IB classes tend to be a lot smaller than others. So students in an IB class are going to get a lot more one-on-one attention from the teacher. And because of that too, they're able to engage more with the other students in the class. So there's a lot more group discussions that happen, a lot more group projects that happen, a lot more collaboration. And then on top of that, IB really focuses on not so much like just memorizing a ton of content, but being able to transfer the knowledge that you're learning in that class into new areas. So for example, in a history class, you really approach that history class as if you were a historian. And so you're learning the skills that a historian would have to look at information, to look at primary sources, secondary sources, to be able to pull that together and form an analysis of like a historical event. And then you'll take those skills and then apply them to a new historical event that maybe you haven't seen before or know anything about. Same thing happens in a biology class. You're approaching that class as a biologist. So students are coming up with their own experiments, and they're getting to transfer those skills into that new thing. And I think that's something that makes IB really unique, is that they're they're getting to have a lot of choice in how they approach their learning. There are certain requirements that they have for the classes, but they get to choose what they do for that. And so it allows the students to really explore things that they're passionate about. We have, an IB math class, and they have to do a math exploration paper, it's called. And what they have to look at is something in the real world that, so they're looking at something in the real world and like the math of that. So we had a student one year study the math that was involved in sound waves because they were really really passionate about music. So they took a song and dissected the sound wave patterns and like the math that was involved in that, and got to.
I would say that approaching education in such a way probably increases engagement with students. And then that critical thinking and creative thinking sounds like it's embedded in everything. Talk about the students who are participating in IB. Is my assumption correct when you can tie it to something that they're passionate about, say outside of the classroom? How do you see that maybe change perspectives about learning?
So I think it does lead to a lot more engagement. And then they're able to see how what we do at school actually transfers over into their lives.
So I'm never going to use this
sure.
kind of goes out the window because you're seeing right there in class how it could be used.
Absolutely. And so it's as an educator, it's really cool to see that, to see them kind of like those light bulbs go off and that spark. And we've had a lot of students over the years find what they were passionate about through IB. So
kind of a safe space to test out different passions. That's a cool perspective.
And I think that's one of the things that's unique about IB is that it doesn't just focus on one academic area. It is a holistic approach. And so it's about building the student as a whole person. And so one of our key features is the IB learner profile. And so there's these 10 traits that we're trying to develop in them over their 2 years in the program. Very similar to like our district's portrait of a graduate. In fact, like the language in a lot of them is the exact same.
It is good when it aligns because they're then kind of experiencing a similar thing, though incredibly different than maybe that traditional view of what a high school class or classes would be. Yeah. Talk about joining IB. What does it take to get into the program for anyone who might be interested in looking into it more?
So we have an IB for all philosophy. So IB is an international program. It can be found on pretty much every continent where there are people. And it's about just providing a wonderful education for everyone that takes part in it. So what that looks like at North Canyon is, anyone who wants to take on that challenge has the opportunity to. Anyone who wants to come into North Canyon to do that, there is an application process that can be found on our website. That way we're able to just contact people and get back to them. But in general, it is open to anyone who wants that challenge. And we try and come up with things that we're trying to find ways to include more students.
And International Baccalaureate isn't just for high school students district-wide. We have it in other places.
So we have the primary years program at Quail Run. And so they do that, I think, K through 6. And then there is a continuum, and they could continue that IB education at North Canyon starting their junior year.
So that from K to 12, that IB experience can be at least a piece of it. Let's talk a little bit more about post high school. I know that especially our parents and families and seniors are definitely interested in seeing what's next. How does IB set a student up for, say, if they're heading to college or career? We've talked a little bit about career, but college, is that something that they're looking for?
Mm-hmm. So I think it's actually one of the greatest benefits of the IB program is the preparation that students get for college. Because of the nature of the work in each class and even the IB exams, it's what you do in college. And so by the time they start their freshman year, they've already had to write who knows how many lab reports in the way that they're expected to in college. They've already had to do a large research paper. And so what we've found, our students go and find college to be a lot easier than high school.
Because it's not going to be new to them, right?
Yeah, it's not new to them. They learn a lot of time management skills because they're having to keep up with a pretty rigorous academic schedule with a lot of deadlines and assignments. And so when they get to college and they're having to do the same thing, it's nothing new. They have more time for it because, you know, a lot of times in college you don't have the same extracurriculars that you did in high school.
Yeah.
But so just the academic work, they're beyond prepared for what that's going to look like. And then because of some of the other things that they have to do as part of the IB program, in terms of like the community service, they've had to work together with other people a great deal. And so that prepares them even more for like what that's like. And
yeah, let's talk a little bit more about this because the IB students recently were out at Echo Mountain Primary as part of that community service portion of IB. Tell us a little bit more about that experience.
So our students are required to complete community service, but it's all part of like a bigger picture. It's called CAS, so they call it Creativity, Activity, and Service. And so they have to do activities that will spark their creativity. They have to do activities that will make them sweat. And then the S in it is service. And so we went to Echo Mountain as part of the IB Day of Service, which was November 14th. And this is something that started here in Arizona with the IB schools in Arizona, where we just dedicated a day for all of us to do some kind of service projects in our community. And since we started it a few years ago, the IB has taken it and now is spreading that internationally. So it's all over the world now, the IB Day of Service. And for our project, we went to Echo Mountain to work with kindergartners through third graders. And so we paired with a few teachers and we divided up the IB students, and each had a class that they went to, and they led the students in different activities connected to their curriculum. So before we went there, we prepared for a few weeks. The students had reached out to the teachers, found out what they were going to be learning that day, and came up with like really fun activities for the students to do.
What a great experience for the high school students, but also for the Echo Mountain Primary students as well. They kind of get to see maybe an experience that could be theirs one day.
Absolutely. And I think it went way better than we thought it would. From my students' perspective, I was so proud of just how prepared they were. They spent their own money on supplies for the kids, and just to watch the little ones like hug the students as they were like leaving when we had to go was just really meaningful. And I think we're planning on going back second semester, just on our own, not part of a day of service, but
that's really cool.
It'll be something.
Thank you so much for talking about the IB program at North Canyon High School. If you're interested in learning more about IB at NCHS, visit their website or pvschools.net. Thanks again to Matt Case, and best of luck to all of our students who are on their IB journey. It sounds like such a good and exciting way to go about your school, kind of personalizing it to your own passions. Another really cool thing going on in Paradise Valley Unified School District is the use of AI. Now, this is taking over industries and jobs and careers and opportunities for people in work and personal, but it's also making its way into education. And as always, PV Schools has a thoughtful way of integrating these pieces of technology and tools into the educational environment, knowing that very much like the internet changed the way that we learn, AI too can do a similar thing for students. So it's very important to follow that framework and be good stewards of this information and prepare students for a lifetime of success in an AI world. PV Schools is taking education into the future with an exciting new initiative called the Hours of AI. This is a huge shift from what we might traditionally think of as computer science education. Now, many of us are familiar with the Hour of Code, which was the foundation of computer basics. It's like the grammar of technology, teaching students the basics of coding and logic. Well, the Hour of AI is the next level. It's the literacy of technology. In PV Schools, we're teaching students how to understand, evaluate, and work responsibly with artificial intelligence tools. And last week, PV Schools IT team went on site to 6 elementary schools to facilitate lessons for 5th grade students. Plus, at Desert Cove Elementary School, they really went above and beyond, offering an Hour of AI activity for every student from kindergarten through 6th grade. Students learned not only how to utilize AI, but also how to know when AI is wrong and how not to be dependent on the tool itself. It's an early, engaging introduction into an exciting new tool that helps build critical thinking and creativity, problem-solving skills that will help them along the way. To find out more about PV Schools' use of AI and how we're empowering students to be AI creators, visit pvschools.net. And with that, that is certainly today's podcast episode. For more information about the many journeys of excellence, visit pvschools.net. You can also find PV Schools on social media by searching @PVSchools. Make sure to support student success by liking, commenting, and sharing. And as always, support the pod by rating us on Apple and Spotify and sharing new episodes to the social media platform of your choice. Bye.